Hi, it's Theresa with Crafty with Theresa. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm creating the beautiful Extraordinary Life Scrapbooking Workshop kit from Stampin Up. But instead of simply putting the layouts together, I'm sharing several of my thought processes, favorite paper saving, and adhesive tips along the way. These are tips and techniques you can use on scrapbook pages, cards, and many other paper crafting projects. So let's get started. While I'm going through pulling layout one together, I wanted to share my thoughts on why I actually purchased this kit. Some of you may know I'm a bit frugal with my purchases, but I saw these kits, and because I try to find kits that can be used in multiple life events, I looked at this kit and thought this works with all things for me. A little about me. At any given time, I'm always working on 7 or 8 books for my family. So I saw these layouts and thought, wow, this is it. I am sure I can take layout 1 and layout 2, take those 2-page layouts, turn them into one, and use them for my 4 granddaughters' books. Now, I also have 3 grandsons, and I am pretty sure I can take layout 3, which will cover 2 of the 3, and then I'm pretty sure I can squeeze one more layout out of the leftovers from layout 3. Place one in each of all of their books, which will make me so happy. So as we're going through and we're kind of putting this together, these are kind of basic things. You just basically check out the instruction guide, and the instruction guide gives you ideas on how you can place them and turn them into the beautiful layouts. One of the tips that I wanted to share for you today is how to stretch your pattern paper. I'll walk through one of them in conversation, and then we'll actually show a little bit of that in a bit. So the first thing you could do with your layout is, as you can see, a lot of the middle of that layout is covered by that basic white paper. So technically you could go through and gut those other pattern papers that are in the background, and you could actually use those in another layout. And we will walk through that in layout 3. However, the other thing I wanted to share with you is that striped paper is also mostly covered by another layer. So instead of using one continuous piece, you could actually cut the center portion away. You could place a strip at the top and another at the bottom, which would leave the middle empty. However, once everything is layered, no one will ever know the difference. Now, I had already cut these strips, so I'll just use the strip that I have. But I did want to share this tip in case you want to save this adorable piece of designer series paper for another project, which I do that often when I need little strips on my cards. Now, Stampin' Up! Does a great job of including some tips in their instruction guides. For example, they've included pockets on this actual layout. They're die cuts, and they're easy to create and add to the layout. In this case, I'm just taking a bone folder and I'm just securing them. I'll add either tape or glue. In this case, I'm using removable tape because I am still working on where to place these items with the title that I am thinking through. There's several on the sticker sheet. However, I am still working on getting the photos for these layouts. So I'm going to hold off on putting those titles on. I do that quite often because once I get the titles, it's super easy to grab my Cricut, create it in the Cricut, or use the titles here in the sticker sheets and die cuts. Now let's go ahead and put together the other page to layout 1. Same bat time, same bat place. I know I'm probably dating myself here, but I won't go into a lot of detail here because it's basically the same process. This time, we'll set up a pocket and tuck a photo into it instead of a journaling note. I will go ahead and use the best days title because that'll go with most anything that I might need to finish this page. I can't wait to get my photos so I can finish these up. So, I hope this was beneficial to you. We did go through a few benefits. One, we were saving designer series paper so that we could use them for additional scrapbook pages and card making. Now let's move on to the next layout. Just like layout 1, I'm stretching this paper because the center will never be seen. As I said, for example, these tips and techniques, there are things like saving cardstock here. It's going to reduce some waste. It'll create die cut scraps if you decide to use it for that. And it's also going to save you some money. So here's a look at how I do it. I call this gutting the paper. I'll start with two 12 by 12 basic white cardstock pieces. In my case, I know I need two, so I do what's called a stack and cut. I usually grab a ruler and I pencil directly across from where I need to cut. In this case, I would go down 1.5 inches and I would mark that just to the left of my trimmer guide. That way, when I place the cardstock in the trimmer, I can see that pencil mark pretty easily, and it's not covered up by that plastic guide. Then I just go ahead and mark the cardstock, in this case, as I said, 1.5 inches, go down 1.5 inches from the top, go down 1.5 inches from the bottom, and then I'll take my cardstock and I'll move it over to the 1.5 inch mark on the right, in this case on this trimmer. Now I tend to err on the side of larger frames, but we really did not have to do a larger frame here. That's just me, my personal preference. That would have been a pretty small inside frame if I'd have used the 3/4 inch mark, which is what I usually would have done. I just prefer a little bit more of that frame showing to attach that designer series paper. Now keep doing this. I'll rotate it, move my cardstock over to the 1.5 inch mark. But the trick I think that's very helpful for me here is once I make my cut, I leave my blade where it is. Then I move to the next rotation, and it's easy for me not to make a mistake and move that blade outside. Even though I have the pencil marks, I'm pretty much doubling, tripling, trying to be safe here for me to cut this paper. Now that gives me that inside frame of 1.5 inches down. And what we'll do now is we'll grab our designer series paper. So now I can show you what this layout will look like. We'll start with our 11 by 11 piece of paper. We have some other papers that we'll be using, and these are already pre-cut based on the instruction guide. And if you'll see here, there's lots of opportunities in this particular layout to add the stickers, and I just love these stickers. Oh, happy day. They're just so perfect. Any one of them would work. This is one of the layouts that I plan to use from one of my grandsons. Now, I did want to show you real quick the back side of the die cut sheets. If you're not already aware, on the back side of the die cut sheets, it tells you which die cut goes with which project, which is fantastic. It is so much easier for you to figure out how to place those pieces onto your layouts. Now, let's go ahead and just quickly run through how to put this layout together. Using the instructional guide, we're basically going to just start layering everything. First, we have our 11 by 11 designer series paper. Now we have 2 strips of 2 by 11 pieces of paper. We have 2 photos, 4 by 6. And then there's just one little technique that we're going to go over here, and this is again saving some space. There is in your sticker sheet, there is this scallop piece that actually goes on this layout. And there's also a beautiful watercolor look that will also go on this layout. So what we'll do is we'll add that piece, the watercolor piece. Then once we've decided where we're going to place our pictures, we're actually going to cut down that white scallop piece and make it work. We're actually stretching that for 2 layouts, this page and the next page. You'll take that piece and place it to the left, and it's about an inch, I believe, on the left-hand side. I cut it down, that little white scallop. Now my photo can butt up right up against that. We'll do the same on the right-hand side. It's just a little bit more, I believe, on the right-hand side. No, it is about an inch and a half. And then what we'll do on that one is we'll actually leave a little bit of space. And that space is fine there because what we're going to do is we're actually going to put a butterfly right in between those 2 photos. Now I did go ahead, I just now realized I did go ahead and edit this video. I did cut down that white piece just a little bit more, that scallop piece just a little bit more so that it could fit on my second page to this 2-page layout. However, in my case, they're single pages, so it wouldn't have mattered. So you will see the white scalloped border changed in the final layouts. Now, one thing I also do is I just cut around any of the stickers that I don't want to stick down just yet until I know where my titles are going to go and any additional ephemera. So I will use removable tape. I'll leave them within the sticker sometimes, and then I'll make the adjustment. Now, here's layout 1. Pretty much finished. It's done with removable tape, but it is pretty much finished. When I get the photos, I'll be ready to place them down. Here's the right-hand side of this particular 2-page layout, and I just love these colors. I love the Happy Times layout. I went ahead and left that because I felt like that's going to work great with anything. So this is that second page. So now you have 1 and 2 here that I'm going to show you. Now for our next layout, we're going to show a tip in this layout as it pertains to gluing on intricate dies. For those that may not know, I started working on card making with my mom. She had some difficulty using her hands in her later years, so we came up with the ways to help her. If you're interested, you can see some of those ways that we created, things like our own tools and things to help her, and those are in my Frugal Friday videos. You can just pop over to that playlist and it'll show you both items, frugal ideas, as well as things to help with those who have problems with their hands. In my case, I'm going to show you two different ways. The first method that I'm going to use is I'm going to grab my glue bottle. In my case, I take my glue and I place it into this precision glue bottle. That way, it'll be small dabs of glue. First, I'll take my pick-me-up tool and I will go ahead and get out those additional pieces, and that will mean that my intricate die is ready to go. I'll flip it over. I'll take my glue bottle and I'll add small dabs of glue onto that intricate die. Now you don't really have to worry about this particular glue showing up if it happens to eke out, but I don't take any chances. I definitely use this precision bottle for my intricate dies. Now, once I've dabbed on those little dots of glue, I'll grab my reverse tweezers, add it to the shadow butterfly. I'll end up also grabbing a block and laying it on top, and then when it's dry, it's ready to go. Now, I promised an additional tip. So because of that, I wanted to show you this technique where you can take a sponge and you can use that sponge to help with, I would say, medium type dies. In this case, it would be the hearts on the layout. It could be anything, floral items, leafy dies. I find that when I'm working with titles, even some of the alphabet titles, like the You Make Me Smile, sometimes it's better for me if I use this same method. So let's get on to talking about what we're going to do. We're going to cut the sponge that I bought here. It's a small item that I grabbed at the dollar store. We're going to squeeze a little glue onto the silicone craft mat. We're going to lightly dab the sponge on that glue, and we're going to pounce the glue onto the back of the die. Now, these are just some of the ways that I look at making what I have on hand work for my scrapbooking. Do whatever you think will work best for you, whatever you're most comfortable with. Now, here's a look at all the layouts as they are today. I hope to get a showcase video out soon on some of the designs that I've been working on recently. So stay tuned, more videos to come. I hope today's layouts gave you not only inspiration for using the Extraordinary Life Workshop kit, but also some practical techniques that will help you save paper, save cardstock, maybe save a little money, and help with those intricate dies. Hopefully that makes it much easier. If one of these works for you, I would love to hear that in the comments section, which ones you'll be trying, which ones work best. Also, if you have a favorite paper saving tip of your own, please put that in the comments also. I'd like to hear it. If you liked these videos, please consider subscribing, liking, and comment and sharing. It helps YouTube to notice me. It helps me to know what information you're interested in. So I want to thank you so much for joining me today. And until next time, have a great day.